FMC is just a computer, so depending on which data you put in there, it's gonna give you some data. Okay, so if you put the wrong data inside FMC, you will have the wrong data as an answer. Okay, so make sure you cross-check the information that you put in there. Hi there, it's Gabriele here from pilotclimb.com, and in today's video we're gonna talk about the FMC. We're not gonna do a full in-depth review of the FMC because it would take too many hours. I'm going to show you which page you should use and you have to use in order to fly from A to B and use it in a very professional way and a great manner. So without further delay, let's jump right into it. Okay, welcome on board. This is a Boeing 737 aircraft, and as you can see here, we've got the full flight deck. The first thing that I want to point out is where these FMCs are. As you can see here, we've got from the arrow there, we've got one FMC is here, okay, and the other one is there. Normally, these two computers are independent, or they can be two computers of a same system. It really depends on the plane. The ones that are depending, you can read here. It says FMC left and here FMC right. Okay, or in some other cases, we've got only one computer, but two of these FMCs in there. Let's zoom in and analyze the FMC. Okay, this is the FMC. All right, as you can see here, we've got these buttons in here. Okay, all these ones are called left keys and these ones are right keys. Whenever you want to select something, you need to press in this button. Okay, you need to click those buttons. Those are the actual keys that you used in order to select something. Okay, so then we've got in here all the various buttons that you can use to navigate through the pages of the computer. And as you can see here, we've got init left page, route page, CLB's climb page, we've got the cruise page, descent page, a menu, a legs page, departure arrival, and then we've got the holding page. Okay, if you don't know, the holdings are made of separate video where you can really know everything about you need to know to fly an holding. And then we've got the progress page where you get the progress of the flight informations, the N1 limits, that are the thrust setting limits. Then you've got the fix that you can use in order to take as a reference a point and then build up a circles around them. Then we've got the previous page and the next page. Okay, depending on which phase of the flight you are, you might use more pages than others. You can use more often some pages than others. But my target for today is to show you how can you set up the FMC to fly. Okay, so if you got in here, if you look at this, if you click, for example, in this button, you're gonna go into the idle page. Okay, if you click in this button there, you've got the position page. If you click in that button there, you've got progress in performance page. If you click in takeoff page, and then so on. Okay, so what is it is important is to get to know this the FMC setup. All right, so that's very important. Then if we go down here, we've got, as you can see, is the alpha key. Okay, where you can actually pressing this button, you can actually write what you want. Let's say you need to go and bound somewhere, direct to a point, which maybe is called, I don't know, David, for example. Then you have to click DAVID, and then that point will pop up in here, and then you can put it active. Okay, so, but don't worry if it doesn't make sense to you at the moment. We're gonna make a real example in the simulator in a second. Okay, so what we've got in here as well is the anytime you need to write down a number, you can do it in here. All right, if you have some problem, you can read here some information as well as in here, but we're gonna look at this in a second. Okay, then we've got this knob here that you can use it to increase or decrease the brightness of your FMC. And then, as you can see here, we've got this button here, which probably is the most important button in the FMC, because every time you put an important data inside the FMC, for example, a performance data or a direct-to data, this light that you can see here, this light here, will actually switch on to ask you if you are ready to execute that change. Okay, if you're ready and you're sure about what you're executing, then you press execute, and that modification will actually be executed and will be active. Okay, this is a very important button because in real life, every time two pilots on board the 737 need to execute something, they both have to confirm. Okay, they have to both look and understand what they put inside FMC as the last modification, and both of them have to confirm that they won't execute. Okay, normally a single pilot is not allowed to execute anything. Okay, so should be a two pilots confirmation process. All right, so now we talked about pretty much the layout of the FMC and how it's structured. We can go into the simulator and actually perform a real example. Let's jump into it. Welcome on board this Boeing 737. This is the X-Plane 11 simulator, and this is the FMC. All right. This is the first page that you normally find out when you switch on the aircraft. Okay, and this is the ident page. Okay, the ident page shows you the model of your aircraft, the engine rating, which is 26K, and then we've got the nav data, database identification number, and then we've got the active database. So this is the date. This should always be the end of date. Like for example, this database starts from the February 1st and end up on February 28th of 2018. All right, this of course is out of date, and when you fly, you should have something that is actually updated. Okay, the end date should be after the day of your flight. Normally, in this case, we don't have any information here, but here below this active date, you find as well another two dates, the same with the same format of this one. For example, March 1st until March 28th, for example, 2018. And what happened is that if, for example, today you fly on the 1st of March, but active, you've got the database that expires on the 28th of February, what you want to do is to click this line here and click the line above it in order to switch the inactive database to the active database. Okay, but for simulator purposes, it's not really important to have an updated FMC, because anyway, you just do it for simulator, but in real life, you need to have an updated FMC all the time. Then we've got the software, the Boeing software part number identifications, and then we've got here the version. Okay, the version, this U means updated 13. Okay, and then you've got some other data in there, but are not very important. Okay, so if every time you see this index, it's like a book. If you click on the index, it's gonna bring you back. Sorry. If you click on the index, it's gonna bring you back to the pages. Okay, as you can see here, we've got lots of pages here: ident, position, performance, takeoff, approach. All right, now you see we've got a message. Every time you hear this ping, and then you have the information here, and you got, as you can see here, you got MSG means message, means that we need to put something in the FMC for the operations. Okay, in this case, is the FMC, the computer is asking us enter IRS position. Okay, if you don't know what the IRS is, just leave a comment below and ask your questions and I will answer you. Okay, so but for the moment, let's say we acknowledge that there is this information here. In order to delete this, to write down something, we need to go to this clear button. Okay, we press this clear button and the message from the computer will go away, and the message in there as well goes away. Okay, my goal for now is to show you how you can start to use the FMC in the correct way. Okay, all right, if you want to write down something in the FMC, and you need to use this alpha keyboard. Okay, if you write down David, for example, DAVID, you see that this show up in there. Okay, anytime you need something else, I don't know, if you want to write your name, you can write in there your name, because I'll show you later that you will need to write down stuff in here. Okay, if you want to write numbers, okay, you click on the numbers and the numbers will show up there. Okay, then I'll show you what you need to do. If you want to clear and delete the things that you're writing down, you just need to click on the clear. As you can see, it's deleting now the things that are wrote down. We just wrote down. Okay, so now we've got the ident page. We saw already. If you go back to index page, you go on the position page, and in the position page, you've got the last FMC position with the coordinates. Okay, we've got north 40 degrees and so on, east 008 and so on. What we are doing now, we are actually assuming that we are just starting the flight, so no data are inside, and we are starting to set up our FMC. In this case, the ref airport, as you can see, we've got the dashed lines, means that the FMC doesn't have the information. So if you want to put the information there about the reference airport, what we have to do is to write down the 4-letter code, the ICAO code of your departure airport. In this case, in my simulator is the aircraft that is my simulator is in Alghero, and the ICAO code is Lima India Echo Alpha. So I'm gonna write down Lima India Echo Alpha. And as we discussed earlier, the thing that I just wrote down appears here, okay, on the scratch pad. That's called scratch pad, okay, this line here. And what I have to do, I just need go here on the line key and push. And what happens is that what you just put right in here, then if you click on the difference line key, it's gonna pop up it in there, okay? And then it's gonna be deleted there. It's like, when you're doing this, you're basically saying to the FMC, take the information that I just wrote down here and put it in the line key that I want, okay? If your information is good for this field, then your information will transfer to the key that you selected. If the information is not recognized by your FMC, then what will happen is that it will tell you that it's an invalid entry, okay? It's an invalid action because what you wrote down in there doesn't really make sense. As you can see, the coordinates between the last position FMC and the airport are pretty much the same, okay? Then down there we've got the gate, and let's say you're parked somewhere, you're on the gate 102, for example, you can write down here 102. Okay, the difference between the important information that you need to put for your flight that are actually mandatory for your flights are depicted here in the boxes, okay? White boxes are very important information that you need to put. The white dashed lines are optional information that are good to have a more efficient FMC, but are not actually compulsory, okay, are not something that you have to put, okay. As you can see here, we've got set IRS position and it's the boxes, so we need to do something about that. Okay, we've got 3 positive page. So if I go on the next page here, this button here, it's gonna go, as you can see here, says 2-3, so position reference, we've got page 2-3. What I have to do, normally I take the GPS left position, so in order to take the GPS left position, let me do it again. I'm gonna come here on this, and then I'll click on the select key, on the line key, and then it'll pop up what I just clicked in here. It's gonna go on the scratch pad. Then I go back, and then I can do whatever I want as long as the format is correct. So I take and I click in here in order to take this information and put it in there, because as you can see, this information dumps in this side. This information dump in this side, this information dump in this side, but this information here dumps in this side, okay? So this one is on the scratch pad. If I click in here, it's gonna go in there, okay? So that's, again, I'm trying to give you, to show you how can you use the FMC, okay? So again, we go on the index page now, and we've got on the performance pages, okay? So if you go in the performance page, here we've got, as you can see now, the difference between something that you need to put for your flights with a white boxes and something that is compulsory to have, something that is optional to have a more efficient FMC, okay? So as you can see here, you need to have some knowledge about some terms. For example, GW means gross weight, we've got zero fuel weight, we've got reserves, we've got cost index, okay? So these are data that you take from the flight plan and from the load sheet as well, okay? So for example, if your zero fuel weight for today is, I don't know, 54.5, okay, so 54,500 kilograms. If you don't know what zero fuel weight is, leave me a comment below and then I'll explain you what it is. I write down 54-5 because I know it from the load sheet, and I select the key in there, and it's gonna pop up with the 54.5 in here. And as you can see here, says gross weight of 61.1. Okay, I didn't do anything here because the aircraft knows already how much fuel he has got on board, because we tell him that the zero fuel weight of the aircraft is 54.5. He says, okay, my zero fuel weight is 54.5. I add the fuel that I've got on board, and so that means that my gross weight is 61.1. Okay, so now we've got the reserve information that we need to put in there, and this is the reserve of your flight. Okay, if you have any question about reserve, just leave me a comment below and I'll help you out. Let's say that for today's flights, the reserves is 2.2 kilograms, sorry, 2,200 kilograms. So you click 2.2 and then line key, you select it there, you put it in there. Then we've got the cost index, that is basically a number that takes into account how fast you want to go and how much fuel you want to burn. Okay, so a lower cost index will burn less fuel but will fly slower. So what this means that the flight time is going to be longer. So if you go, depending on the duration of your flights, going slower doesn't mean that you burn less fuel, because sometimes going slower, you burn less fuel, but you fly for a longer time. So this all the information that this cost index takes into account, and normally the company or in the flight plan, you've got this information, which cost index you should put. Okay, some companies, they have a variable cost index that changes depending on the flight. Some companies, they have a fixed cost index, so they use the same cost index for all the flights. But let's say that this cost index for today, let's use 100, okay? So 100 is quite a high cost index. That means that we've got we want to fly quite fast, okay? Because the higher the number, the faster the plane. As you saw here, when I put the cost index 100, this light come out and the execute button is in there, okay? So in order to make this change active and to execute this change, we need to now come here and press the execute button, and now the light come out and this information is saved for our flight, okay? So then cruise winds, if you have in your FP, in the flight plan, you have the wind informations, okay? So you need to put your wind information. Let's say that today our wind on cruise is 200 degrees at 50 knots, so we write down 200/50, so 200 at 50, and we select the line key, this one. So we've got the winds in there. Then we've got the ISA deviation. It's already in there. To be honest, I don't know why, because it should not be in there. Let me try to delete. Here we go. So it should be something like that, okay? The ISA deviation is, if you don't know what ISA deviation is, just write a comment and I'll try to help you out. But let's say that today we've got a warmer temperature than the ISA of 5 degrees. If I put the 5 in there, it says deviation in centigrades and in Fahrenheit as well, okay? Then we've got this top of climb outside the temperature, okay? And then we've got a transition altitude, in this case is 18,000 feet, but you can change to any number you want. Let's say it's 6,000. We write down 6,000 here, and then we select the line key in there, and that transition altitude change, okay? And let's go back to index and let's see another page, okay? Index, we've got the performance. Now we're going to takeoff. So in takeoff again, we've got these boxes in there, which is asking us the flap takeoff. So which takeoff flaps you want to use today? So if you want to use flap 5, for example, you click 5 in there, you select the line key, and that will give you the flap 5. As you can see in here, we've got the FV1, VR, FV2. If you don't know what it is, just leave me a comment. And then we can select them by clicking 130, 132, and 143. Okay, normally what happens in real life is that the pilot, they have their own software to calculate this performance, and we do a cross-check between the performance that our Boeing software calculates compared to the ones that our FMC calculates, and if they are within 1 knot, so very, very tight margin, we use the FMCs one. Otherwise, we use the one from the software that we set up and program using the weather information, the weight, and so on. As you can see here, we've got the gross weight and takeoff weight informations, and so on. So the index page is no longer here, because now we've got this route page. If you want to go back to index, the thing that you have to do every time you lose yourself in some pages and you want to go back to the index page where you can actually see all the pages that are available, you have to click init-ref, and then every time you click init-ref, you have this index, okay? So let's say you are here and you're lost in this page completely, okay? You're like looking, okay, how do I go back to index? Click init-ref, and then you've got the index page. You click index again, here we go. So then the approach page, of course, is an approach page. So this is the approach about is a page about the approach. Once you fly, you prepare for landing, and then you do the briefing, you took the weather, you do everything. In here, you're gonna have a gross weight for landing, and then in here you can actually select which flap setting you want to use for landing, and then this is your VREF, okay? And then from here, you actually use this VREF as a minimum speed for approach. And then, for example, let's say that today we want to land with flap 30. As you can see, I click on the flap 30. The flap 30 number pop up. We've got the flap 30 in there. If I want to put the flap 30 speed 143 in here, I just click on the line key, and then we've got this information in there. Okay, set it for the flight. Okay, and then this is the wind correction. Okay, normally minimum is +5, but if you have more wind, you have to apply more correction and so on. So now, if you go back to index, we've got the offset. Well, the offset is not really used that much, but anyway, this is if you want, let's say you are going from A to B and you need an offset to the right. Okay, you cannot fly actually on the route, but you need to go to the right for a few miles and fly parallel to your airways. Here is where you can set up from which point to which point you want to do the offset, and then how many miles to the left or the right you want to actually fly. This is normally used on the MMPS operations. So again, init-ref index, Then we've got some nav data, message recall, but these are other. If you want to know more about this, just throw me a message on the comment, and then I will do a separate video about that. But now let's focus on the really very important pages that normally, if you know how to use these pages in there, you will know exactly how to set up the FMC for your departure, okay? So now that it's clear how to set up, how to put information inside FMC, how to write down and then select the key that we need, I'm gonna give you some tips in order to set up your FMC in the correct way, okay? When you come on board, you have to think about this, okay? Normally I put the route first and then the performance first. Once you have done these two things, you are basically clear to go for your flight. The route, you take the route from the flight plan, and you take the performance from the weather and the load sheet. Okay, so what you have to do, since the route is the first thing you put, you click here route RTE, this page in here, you click in there, and then route page 1 is asking you origin and destination. So where do you fly from? Let's say today we fly from Alghero, Lima India Echo Alpha. So I write down Lima India Echo Alpha E. So I write down Lima India Echo Alpha E, I put it in there. And we want to go to, I don't know, Madrid. So Lima Echo Mike Delta. And I put it in there. All right. So then we've got company route if you have one, flight number if you have one, and the runway if you know which runway you are for. So let's say you are taking from a runway 20 in this case. Okay. So what you need now, after you told him that you want to fly from Lima India Echo Alpha to Lima Echo Mike Delta, you need a departure. Okay, in order to fly from here to there. So you click Dep R. So you need to think about the flight, okay? I told you from here to there, now I need a departure. As you can see here, we've got Lima India Echo Alpha, departure and arrival, and Madrid arrivals, okay? Let's click on departure, and then it's gonna ask you which runway do we want the departure to depart from, in this case runway 20, because we wrote down the runway 20 before, and then it's gonna give us all the SIDs that are available. So let's say today we wanna fly Geno 5 Alpha, for example. You click on the Geno 5 Alpha, and you select the Geno 5 Alpha, okay? So then, if you go back to route page, now we know that we've got from Lima India Echo Alpha to Lima Echo Mike Delta, you have the Geno 5 Alpha, and then you need all the points along the route, and then you need the arrival, okay? So, the route page actually tells you from Alghero to Madrid, from you fly these points in there, but it doesn't actually tell you the waypoints that are inside each segment. For example, the SID that goes from Alghero to the point Genox is called Genox 5 Alpha, but inside the Genox 5 Alpha SID you've got multiple points, and these points are shown actually on the legs page. Okay, so if you click on the legs page here, you've got all the points of your SID. The exact same thing happens on the route. So after the Genox, you have to intercept an airway that you use in your flight plan, and then, for example, the airway is Uniform Alpha 123, and that Uniform Alpha 123 maybe is 300 miles long, and inside the airways you've got multiple waypoints, and these waypoints will be shown all in here, but on the route page you will not see any points, okay? So then the same happens when you arrive to Madrid. You want to click on departure arrival again, Madrid arrival in here, and then you have got the ILS runway 18 right, for example. You click in here, and then it is asking you which arrival, the standard arrival. I made videos about SETs and stars, so watch them if you don't know what SETs and stars are. And we've got the Mora 5 Alpha. So we click on the Mora 5 Alpha, and some of them, they have the transitions, are points that are before the approach and after the star, okay? So are transitions, you know. So you put Tagom in there, for example. If you go on the route page again, okay, and we activate this, okay, because we need to activate this. It's very important. Once you activate that, it's asking you, do you really want to execute these points that you put in there? Then, if yes, you execute them, and then if you go on the next page of the route page by clicking in here, you see next page. So your route page, next page. And it's going to show you all the points. So Geno 5 Alpha to Genox. And then, as you can see here, we've got doesn't know where to go because we only put the seed and the star, but we need to put an airway. And all this information are in your flight plan. However, you can do a trick here that is not allowed in real flight, but in order not to have this route discontinuity, as it's saying here, you can actually go into the legs page and connect this route discontinuity. Let's do like this. let's do this. So these are all the points of our departure, okay? Here we go, it goes the genox, then we have a root discontinuity because we didn't put any airways, and then we've got moral. If you want to connect genox and moral with a straight line, you just need to click on moral. As you can see here, now we've got moral in there and put it in there. Here we go. So now from genox to moral is a 542 nautical miles point on the track 259. Do you want to execute? Let's execute just for illustration purposes, okay? So we execute, and now we've got a clear and everything is connected. In fact, if I go back to root page and then I go, as you can see, we've got 2 pages in there, go into the next page. Now we've got genox 5 alpha, then moral 5 alpha, l'Alpi, ILS running 1-8 right Yankee, okay? So now it's all connected, the root is in there and everything is perfect. So now we've got, as we were discussing, root, and then we need the performance, okay? So the performance, as you can see here, it's actually made quite nicely, the FMC, because it's helping you out to set up the FMC quickly, and after you put the root, it says here, performance initialization. So if you click in here, it's gonna bring you into the page that we did before. As you can see, we've got the zero fuel weight that you put it from your load sheet, the reserve from your flight plan, the cost index from the flight plan. What will happen is that on the flight plane, normally you have the optimum flight level that you should fly, depending on your weight and weather. Okay, let's say that in order to fly from Alghero to Madrid, the optimum flight level is 320. Again, it's very important that if you don't know, if you're not familiar with any term that I'm using, for example, optimum flight level or any other term, just leave me a comment and I will answer you, okay? So, in here I said, okay, I want to fly on the cruise altitude at flight level 320. So again, I put 320 and then I select the key in there and show up in there. Now, insufficient fuel. Fantastic. You see, this is a message the FMC is telling me. It's telling me, listen, I know that on board we've got such fuel. If you want to fly from Alghero to Madrid at flight level 320, we don't have enough fuel to do it. Okay? So, what will happen is that if I try to put an higher flight level, so let's try. So we clear this information here. It says steep descent after this delta 0010. This is a point in the arrival for sure. It's warning me that we're gonna have a steep descent. So I clear this. That's correct. Steep descent after Manco, steep descent. So we've got lots of information. Let's try to fly an higher cruise altitude because flying higher you will burn less fuel. Let's put 380. Again, this is just for, I'm trying to illustrate to you how the FMC works. Okay, in real life we don't do this. In real life we've got the flight plan with exact fuel that we need, exact flight levels and so on. So we never actually try to see, okay, let's fly higher and let's see if we burn less fuel, because this completely, you cannot do that. Okay, you need to know that you have enough fuel to fly at that flight level, and normally you've got plenty of fuel. So let's try to change the flight level. So I wrote down here 380, it will come up in here, and I put on the right one key. Again, instead of steep descent, you see MSG there, so I clear this message. Steep descent after Manco. These are all points on the arrival in Madrid. Alright, so as you can see now we've got enough fuel. Alright, so we can continue. As a deviation, we said we were 5 degrees warmer than the ISA temperature. And now, if you click in here, N1 limit, it's gonna bring you to the next page for the takeoff. In this N1 limit page, you need to enter the outside air temperature. Okay, the outside air temperature, that you take it from the 80s, and that's why it's important to take the 80s. Okay, so in this case, we've got 14 degrees. But let's say that today we take the 80s, we've got 20 degrees, and we want to put the 20 degrees in there. As you can see here, we've got this slash first and then the information. So what you need to do is to put the slash first and then put 20. All right. So in this case, you are telling the FMC to put the information in here and not in there, because if you would have only put 20 here without the slash, the information would have gone on the first field here. Okay, so let's do like this and see if it works. As you can see here, it's 20 degrees now. It's saying verify takeoff speed, because of course the temperature is changed, is a measure weather factor for our performances, so it's warning us that we should recalculate takeoff speed because they might be inaccurate. Okay, so we know that, we clear that. Then here you've got your takeoff thrust settings. If you don't know what it is, just throw me a comment below and I'll answer what it is. Okay, and then as you can see here, once we filled up with the outsider temperature, we select the takeoff thrust that we want, we can go into the takeoff page. Okay, the takeoff page again, FAB5, and then we've got the speed recommended from the FMC, or you can use your speed from your software. Okay, then we've got the center of gravity that you take it from the load sheet again, depending on the weight distributions. You've got a center of gravity that is more forward or more aft, and you put the information in there. All right. So once you have done all of these, you can pretty much take off, because as you can see here, the ident has been checked, the page ident has been checked, the page position has been checked, the performance page has been done using the 80s, the takeoff speed has been done using the 80s, and the approach, you're gonna fill up this once you arrive at destination. Okay. So now a very important page that you should use very often is the progress page. I'll show you what it is. In the progress page, you find a lot of information about your flight progress, and that's why it's called progress page. You've got from the point, you've got the altitude that you are, so in this case it's 83 feet, and then to the next point, we have distance to go 2 nautical miles. It's going to tell you estimate time of arrival from now. So let's say we take off from here, our estimated arrival time should be 11:55 Zulu, and the fuel at that point. The next point will be Alpha Lima Golf 09er, distance to go 9er, estimate time of arrival over that point 11:57, and the fuel at that point 6.1. Then it will only show us 3 points and then the destination. In this case, it's going to be Madrid. We've got this 763 is the distance to go. In this case, not the altitude. Okay, yes, in fact, this distance to go. Okay, distance to go 763. Estimate time of arrival in Madrid is 13:47, and then the fuel that we will have in Madrid if we fly with the information that we set on the cruise on the FMC. In fact, we select the cruise, and for the cruise level, we select the outsider temperatures, the winds, and so on. Okay, and we select as well the departures and arrivals. Then this number here, the fuel at arrival, it will change depending if you have a shortcut, if you have more headwind or more tailwind than expected, and so on. It constantly changes. Okay, the FMC is just a computer, so depending on which data you put in there, it's going to give you some data. Okay, so if you put the wrong data inside the FMC, you will have the wrong data as an answer. Okay, so make sure you cross-check the information that you put in there. And then it says to the top of climb, we have 102 nautical miles, and estimate time over top of climb is 12:11 Zulu, and the fuel quantity is 6.5, and this is the fuel quantity that we've got on board in here. All right. So this progress page is extremely important. Now that we discussed all these pages, then we have got the same pages as well during the descent, but that's going to be the content for another video. So I hope I helped you out with this video. If you like the video, give it a like. If you have any question or something is not clear about what I talked about, just leave me a comment below and then I will answer you very quickly. Subscribe to the channel and go and check pilotclimb.com for free pilot training content. And I'll see you in the next one.